like a storm with an anchor. And finding no good news in the paper.
Welcome back to Faith, Freedom, and Conspiracy. We are the Christian Women's Health Collective. And as you can see, there are only 3 of us today because Julie is doing what Julie does best. And she is sharing her story with a group of people on grief. And we just wish her so much joy and hope in this tonight. So myself and Sherry and Breanne have brought you a great topic on homeschooling. We hope that you enjoy this podcast because we sure had a lot of fun talking about it. And we learned some things about each other that we didn't know. So you get to learn them too. Enjoy the podcast. Oh, we were talking about this article or this Instagram post I saw today about a man who is a drag queen who was hired by a school to be a kindergarten teacher's aide, and the principal hired him because the principal is also a drag queen. So it's probably how they knew each other. And so I was just saying, one of the comments on it was, what's the world coming to? And it just made me really start thinking about, this is probably what the world has always been and why children have been indoctrinated for so long. They just had to hide, and now they get to come out and play. And we get to see what they're really like, because these people have been in schools for a long time. Like the ones that are coming out were already in the school system.
They just think it's safe to advertise now.
Yep. It makes me wonder how many principals of schools are hiding truths about themselves. And then they're exposed, our kids are exposed to them all day long for those who go to public schools.
Yeah.
Same with teachers, same with, who knows? Anybody that's working at the school.
Yeah.
Because I saw I thought this was interesting. It says, Democrat Pennsylvania School Board President sworn on stack of books. Okay, so she's sworn in on a stack of books that includes sexually explicit material depicting naked teenage boys.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So this is somebody who is the school board president. That's exactly what you want.
Wow.
It's just a defiant, I don't care what your kids read. And yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Our poor children.
Yeah. I feel bad for parents right now that have to put their kids in school because they need 2 jobs, or they are the single breadwinner, or whatever.
Yeah.
Have you guys looked at the statistics on that recently? How many people are pulling their kids out of school?
Pretty high. I don't know what it is, but I know it's really high.
I'm gonna look it up because I feel like it's really high.
I've seen more and more people I follow on different social media platforms that are either not putting their kids in school if they're young or taking them out.
Yeah, I actually had a conversation with my teacher daughter and about this, and she was talking about the fact that, so she teaches K through 5. She's an art teacher, so she has all the kids in the school 1 day a week. And when she first started there, this is her, I want to say 12th year teaching, which is kind of like crazy.
Really?
But anyway, yeah, I know. Yeah. So she, when she first started teaching, she had to have somebody come in and take some of her classes because she couldn't physically, there wasn't enough hours in a day in the week to teach all the classes. So she had somebody come in and teach some of the classes. So then it started getting to the point where she didn't need that person anymore as the years went by. And now she's got gaps. She has days where she only teaches 3 classes. And I'm like, what's going to happen to you? Then I also went on the other side of that, and I was just like, so why do you think that is? And she goes, a lot of them are just, they're not coming back to school. And I'm like, well, why do you think that is? And she goes, one little girl said that her mom said that she didn't like what they were teaching in school or something to that effect. The things that they might learn in school. And I said, so where are they going? And so it sounded like a lot of them were staying home. But she has big gaps. So yes, there's a definite change in the school and how many people are actually attending. And we have a pretty good online in Florida. So they do have Florida virtual school that supposedly is very good.
So I just found an article from the Washington Post. It says in states with comparable enrollment figures, the number of homeschooled students increased 51% over the past 6 school years, far outpacing the 7% growth in private school enrollment. Public school enrollment dropped 4% in those states over the same period, a decline partly attributable to homeschooling, but it looks like, so this chart that they have, it looks like homeschooling increased like 65% in 2020. And it started to go up to like, I don't know, 15%, like between 2019 to 2020 school year. But then the 2020 to 2021 school year is when it peaked. Homeschooling increased like 65%. And then it looks like the last few years it stayed pretty steady, like 50% increase in homeschooling. 50%, that's a lot, you guys. That's a lot. People
Well,
homeschooling.
That's a lot.
Even my sister who has young kids, her daughter was in a private school and she even pulled her out of private school. She homeschools all of her kids now. So, and I've heard the same from a lot of people. And here's the other thing. Some people decided to homeschool in 2020, or they had their kids at home and decided, oh, we like this, we're going to keep them at home, right? Whether they're using their own curriculum or the public school online or whatever. But if they're at home, then you kind of get to decide, right? And then there's more people who are still deciding, like every single year, as the crazier, the more woke, the more stuff goes into the school system, like more people choosing to homeschool now than ever, I think.
well, yeah,
And
and it's less
like
conservative
American history.
people. Huh?
Was that?
I was just going to say, even less conservative people are starting to pull their kids out of schools because the woke propaganda is way beyond anything that even more liberal people would have ever been willing to accept.
Right, exactly. No
Yeah.
parent wants all of that sexual stuff taught to their kids at such a young age. That's horrifying, and it's child abuse.
Yes.
It is child abuse. It is.
So,
And from what I understand, even in the private schools, they're using a lot of the same books. So remember we talked about the Macmillan books last week? Yeah. They're using the same books. So they're getting some of the same stuff.
Yeah.
Which is,
Kirk
yeah.
Cameron was saying in a podcast I was listening to not long ago, the Scholastic books. Remember when you'd go to the book fair at school and Scholastic, the book bus would be there and it would be so exciting? Well, they are also really promoting those books, those sexually explicit books now. So you give your kids money for the book fair and they can buy all of that stuff. It's tragic.
Yeah, especially it's being promoted to help your teacher earn some money for the schoolroom, and you think you're doing a good thing, and they're coming home with crap.
Right. Yeah, I don't know what I would have done had my daughter gotten her hands on a book like that. But you know what? Even when my kid was in school, and she's 28 now, that's when the Twilight books came out and, you know, all the more sexually explicit teenage books that I actually enjoyed reading as an adult. And I remember thinking, why are these books why am I drawn into what's supposed to be teenage literacy? And I look at it now and it totally clicks. I'm like, oh my gosh, they've been teaching kids about sexual intimacy for much longer than we even realize. I mean, I guess in some ways the Scarlet Letter is kind of about that, right?
Mm-hmm. I think it's probably what's, you know, it's been so slow about getting in.
Yeah.
But now it's so in our face.
I had to read the Scarlet Letter in high school.
I don't think that we read that. I don't remember reading it.
I think I did
No, you
either,
probably got worse, Bree.
She's not that
I
much.
Like
Yeah.
high school, I was homeschooled, so I didn't read any of that
Oh,
stuff.
Oh,
really?
I'm a homeschool girl.
Did not know
I
that.
know.
Did you homeschool your kids?
Yes and no. So we lived in a really good school district when we were in Iowa when they were little, and so I didn't homeschool them when we lived there. Um, I did homeschool them for preschool, some, but then um when we moved to Colorado, um things were not great at the school, and so we pulled them out and started homeschooling them. So we homeschooled them for 3 or 4 years, and then they started going to a private Christian school where we live. And then we moved to a small town, and they ended up going to the high school in the small town that we live in. So they've done everything actually, but we loved homeschooling them. It was great.
that's
I'm really
great.
glad that we did. Yeah.
I would have I never even really knew homeschooling was such a big attribute for a
Mhm.
family when I was raising my kiddo, but I was so young when I had her.
Yeah.
Oh, if
Well,
things could have been different.
I
homeschool
don't
was
think it was
not a big
really that much.
No.
It was not a big thing when I was a kid. No, we were the exception to the rule. I didn't know any other homeschooling kids except for those in our homeschooling group.
Okay.
Mhm.
And now there's
Yeah.
so many homeschooling groups, and there's even like schools built for homeschooling families so they can go and the parents can get a little bit of a break while the kids have study group, and it's kind
Yeah.
of
Well, they
My
have
parents
specialties.
actually,
They'll do the specials.
yeah.
yeah. My parents actually ended up starting a homeschool co-op where all of us would go like and we would do school in our at our church like during the day, and each mom would take a day and or two moms would take a day and supervise all of us to make sure all of our work was done, grade all of our material, like all the things and stuff. And so we went to school,
That's
we're
cool.
homeschooled, and so it was neat, it was fun. Yeah, I loved being homeschooled, loved it, but I was also very shy introvert. It was great for me.
The only thing that I can remember, I do remember hearing about it, but it was more about, yeah, but your child they won't get, everything they need, all the socialization, and so they really talked it down so that there weren't any pluses about it.
Oh yeah. I think I know what
Hmm.
you're talking about.
Yeah,
There was
I mean,
always
just
a lot of that, a lot of naysayers and a lot of well, that can't be healthy for your kids, kind of
hmm
situation.
right,
But the funny
yeah,
thing about that is that it seems like homeschool children who are actually homeschooled now, there are some exceptions to the rule of homeschoolers who are like, yeah, not great. But parents who are actually involved in their children's education, like all of those students are so much more well prepared. What's the right word? What am I trying to say? More prepared for college than other
They
students, it
are.
mhm,
seems like, because they're used to interacting with adults all day and not kids all day, you know what I mean? And so I feel like their social skills are good, and their education skills, study skills are good. And so anyways, it was fun. You know what's funny is that when I went to college, and I started college early, because I was homeschooled and I could. Um, and I was in one of my classes, my teacher asked a question and I raised my hand, answered it, and he was just like, "How did you know that? Were you homeschooled?"
Oh, what? Love it.
nice.
And I was like, "Yes." He was like, "That's what I thought. They don't teach that in schools anymore." I was like, "Good to know."
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Isn't that funny? I was like, "Oh wow, okay." Obviously, he's had homeschooled kids in his class before. I guess he knows how to call it. I don't know. I thought that was really funny. I was like, "Okay, well, maybe I won't answer any more questions. I don't
Oh,
want people to know I'm homeschooled and think I'm weird."
that's
But see, you guys
That's
never would have
good.
guessed I was homeschooled, right?
no, I had no idea.
Well, you're so socially awkward, like they told me, people would be. So,
Yeah.
I know, I'm
if you
so
sent your
weird.
if you did that with your children,
Yeah. Your social skills, Bree. I'm not sure. I'm just not
Guard
sure.
them for life, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, it was definitely one of the blessings that came out of COVID is the fact that parents found out what was being taught in their schools.
I know the thing
So
that
I
just
think,
blows my mind is that they've like tripled down on the chaos in school. I just don't understand.
Right? It's like, okay, people are leaving the schools in droves because now we know how bad they are, but they're like, oh,
yeah,
let's keep getting worse. And I'm
Yes.
like, how is this helping you?
right?
I can't wrap my head around it. I have no
Yeah.
words. I just
I don't even know.
Mhm. Yeah.
crazy.
But I mean, it's like, when they had to, your kids were at home and they were watching, it online, that's when the parents were hearing what the
That's
teachers were
true.
saying. And
That's
so
true.
they figured it out. But yeah, so that was a good thing for sure.
Yeah.
Because I think that really started it. And then, yeah, I think the crazy on top of it is icing on the cake to get the rest of the people to leave.
Maybe it's just the God's way of creating the mass exodus from the indoctrination schools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
I
keep
do
at it.
like what,
More parents are staying home with their kids. I think it's great.
Nuclear families will start
Well,
forming again through this, I'm sure.
Yeah.
well, and the co-op situation, I think is really big. I think that's
Yeah.
going to be, something of the future for sure.
Yep.
More because I've heard of families coming together now and hiring a couple of teachers, and they're pooling their kids together to teach them. And I think that's really cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Because I know there are a
So,
lot of Christian teachers, or not even necessarily Christian, but just ethically moral teachers who have left the school system over everything that's coming to light.
hmm
mhm.
And I know a lot of teachers who decide to stay home and teach their own kids,
Oh, really?
which I'm like, yeah, that's amazing.
That
So
is cool.
they're like, I trained for this, like literally. But
That's
I don't know.
cool.
I always had so many people come and talk to me like, isn't it so hard? Like, how can you homeschool? They're like, I want to homeschool, but I could never do that. And I'm like, of course you can do that. You finished high school, you can teach. You can teach you can teach your kids. You can teach your kids. Anyone can teach their kids, you know? Like
Yeah.
there's plenty of help out there. There's plenty of literature, plenty of videos, plenty of online help and
There's so many
classes, all kinds
curriculums
of stuff.
now.
Like, oh, there is
Yeah.
Yeah.
so much available
Well, they
for
have
whatever.
they have whole big huge like fairs,
Convention,
conferences
homeschool
for
conventions.
homeschooling with
Yeah.
all of it. Yeah, which
Yep,
is
with all of
amazing.
the curriculum all in place. You can go review all of it, choose what you want to do. I love homeschool conventions. I love books though. So homeschool conventions are awesome. And then you have all of these entrepreneurial homeschoolers there too, like selling things that they've created and like running their own businesses and like it's just they're really cool. If you ever get a chance to go to one, like
That's cool.
they're so cool. Yeah,
That is cool.
That is cool.
they're
Yeah.
really neat.
Because I feel the same. I don't know that I could have done it. Not.
Oh,
I had a
yeah.
hard enough time with helping my my youngest with ADHD do homework. It was just like,
But I also think though,
So-
Sherry, if you were able to create an environment for her and teach her in methods that you understood, because when Becca was in school, they started doing that really weird core math and I couldn't figure it out. I was absolutely lost. So if your curriculum still lined up with a more sensical way to teach versus the weird quadrants and stuff that she had to do to learn, it probably wouldn't have been as hard. And I think that's where the advanced homeschooling can come in.
Yeah, it wasn't easy with the math because I mean I went to high levels of math with being a software developer, and there I could help for a long time into high school with her math, and she'd tell me how it was supposed to be done. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? I'm like, no, you just do this, and this. no, I'll get in trouble if I do it that way.
Right.
I'm like, she goes, I'll have points taken off. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
I know, that's the part that stinks.
But we get to the same answer. It doesn't matter. I'm like,
But, math is racist now, so we have that.
I heard that. I've heard it.
What?
Racist.
You
I
heard
have not
about
heard
math being
this.
racist?
You hadn't heard that? Oh, come
Oh,
on.
yes, math is racist, especially in Oregon.
is
See,
racist.
that's why Oregon decided that if you had ethnicity in you, indigenous or minority coloring, that you did not have to read, write, or be able to add to graduate from high school. They literally passed that law.
That is horrifying. That in itself is discrimination.
Yeah, you think?
Right?
Oh my gosh.
The disservice they're doing to
Yeah.
these children
Well,
is,
think
well,
about
it's the
it.
same
There's
as no
an
child left
agenda.
behind,
Yeah.
And the teachers are upset with no child left behind, but it's that's another whole ridiculous, just pass them through.
That
And
just
we know
blows my
teachers that
mind.
would get in trouble if they didn't
Yeah.
pass them through and graduate them.
Mhm. I had a girl working for me not too long ago who could not add to save her life. She had no idea how to read a ruler, no clue how many inches were in a foot. And she was 26 years old in college. Yeah, could not do
This
basic
is like
math at all.
unfathomable. I don't know. I can't even
Yep.
that doesn't even how do you
It
graduate
doesn't
high school?
compute, does it?
No, it does not compute. I'm sorry, but it just does not. Like basic
They're not
things that
being-
everyone should know from kindergarten. I don't know. Anyways, but I was gonna say too,
Yeah.
like that lots of times if you're a homeschool parent, you learn to ride along with your kids, and there's nothing wrong with that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Or relearn it.
Yeah.
or relearn it if you forgot. And yeah, exactly. So
I
anyway,
think the
yeah.
thing that I would warn people about with homeschooling is just to be careful of the curriculum that you get, because they keep changing history
100%.
and changing so many
Yeah.
facts that, and who knows if they were facts when we were growing up, because history books have been changed since the beginning of time. But I would definitely,
Right.
Did you guys see that Prager U has stuff for homeschoolers now?
no.
I think
Yeah.
I saw that. Yeah.
I
Interesting.
know I sent
Yeah.
it to my sister because I was like, that is so cool
That
that
is-
they're producing stuff for homeschoolers, like classes and curriculum and stuff. I was like, that's really neat. I think that's
That
awesome.
is really cool.
And the Daily Wire
we-
has television now that's very wholesome and fun for kids. Back to Saturday
Yeah.
cartoons.
Yeah,
Wow.
which is so cool. The Angel Studios, they have
HTV.
some kids cartoons too now. So that's kind of cool too.
I saw
Yeah.
that. Yeah. That is
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, we've had a few different speakers come to our Patriot groups, and they're like, there were two different ones that came, and they were selling their books basically, and they were history books that they were could be used for homeschooling. And I'm like, we ended up buying them. I'm like, we should sit down and read these, because one of them is on the Constitution and everything. And I thought, well, at a lower level, because I've gone through two Constitution classes, two different ones. One with Rick Green. I don't know if you know who Rick Green is. Do you know who Rick Green is, Bree?
No, I feel like I should.
No. Yeah, he it's biblically based teaching of the Constitution. So it's a really good course. And I have a side note on that one. But anyway, so it's just, it's great that they're coming through and doing those, people are creating these books so that they can, teach the kids history.
That's
Yeah,
great.
And then
real
maybe we
history.
can learn it too.
Exactly.
So,
And teach your children how to
Yeah.
write in cursive, because schools don't teach that.
right?
You can't read the Constitution if you can't read in
No.
cursive.
No,
I know
the
we
Bill of
did
Rights
learn
or any of it.
cursive, yeah. Cursive
we
is
do
great
too.
for children's brains for learning, just like music, but writing in cursive the same. Like it's very good for their brains and for development. So there's lots
Mm.
of good reasons to learn that. But yeah, it's also good for their you know, uh hand-eye coordination, like all that kind of stuff. But ask me if I liked cursive class when I was a kid. No, I hated it.
I loved it. I loved it. The
I hated
Z.
it because
Oh,
my hand hurt because I was holding my pencil so tight all the time, so my hand always hurt. And because I had to write so many pages in cursive all the time, so and we always had to write all of our reports by hand because it was before computers.
of course. Imagine
We
getting
had
in
to
Yeah.
trouble and
rewrite
having
our
to write
entire
your,
report and try not to make any mistakes. I know, that was so hard.
did you have to write sentences when you got in trouble 100 times? Yeah. Cursive.
She was
Yeah.
homeschooled. Her parents knew that one.
I
Cursive.
did. I did in elementary school all the time. I stayed in trouble
Oh
for
my goodness.
school.
Aw.
I think one of the good things, though, that Trump was bringing forward was the fact that the money will follow the kid. That's what he wants to implement, the money following the kid for
Yes.
school, so
Yes.
that if the mom and the parent or parents want to homeschool, they will have the money for the books. You know, they don't have to, you know,
School choice.
sell it out
We
of
were
their own
always
pocket. Yes.
we were always at the Capitol and like doing all the things for school choice, all the homeschoolers, so that the money that just because we were in a school district, it wouldn't go to the school, it would go to the school where my parents chose to send me. Or if that meant homeschooling, they would get that money to help pay for the curriculum. But of course, my parents homeschooling us, we never got any government help with any of that because they didn't want us homeschooling. So
Yeah.
we were always lobbying, that's the right word I was trying to for school choice. But we lived in Washington State at the time, so that was never happened. Um but yeah, that's a huge thing. Huge thing. I'm a huge advocate for school choice.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I know California has a I don't know, executive order or something in place where you cannot, if you're homeschooling, you cannot homeschool with a Christian or faith-based curriculum. And so the
Oh my
parents are
gosh.
fighting the state on that right now.
Yeah, my sister-in-law ran into that when she pulled her kids out and decided to homeschool them. But it was the school district, then it was through the school district because this was, I want to say around COVID time, but um they would only pay for certain curriculums. They would only allow certain curriculums. So anything that was faith-based, they would not allow to be paid
One
for
thing
or to
to
be part
pay
of their curriculum.
for, but it's another thing to say you can't do it. If the kids can pass the curriculum tests, what difference does it make what curriculum they're using? That's the problem I have with it. Like the whole purpose of school is to get them ready for life. And if they can pass state mandated tests, who cares what their curriculum is? And if the parents are paying for it, really, who cares what it is?
Yeah. Did you have to pass the test for that? Because I thought that the homeschooling, you didn't have to take the test.
If you're not taking government funding, then I think that you don't necessarily have to pass any tests. But you would have to get at least your GED if you wanted to go on and get into college.
So you cannot get a
So
high
at,
school diploma if you're not taking government tests.
right,
Okay.
right.
Mm.
So you have to go through the school district somehow if you want to get that high school diploma, which I actually don't have a high school diploma, but I have a bunch of college degrees, and so what does it matter?
Exactly.
Well, in this day and
I
age, a high school diploma means nothing.
Yeah, I got my GED when I was like 16 and just started college.
Okay.
So, yeah, I skipped
Good.
ahead. It worked
Why
out
not?
for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're ready. I mean, why not?
Yeah. I also think
They let
back to what Breanne was talking about with being more ready for, more prepared for, dealing with adults, and because you spend so much time around them. I also think it makes you more emotionally mature because
That's
you're
true.
spending time around hopefully emotionally mature people more than you are high school drama. So you
I
don't.
was gonna say the same thing, the high school drama. It's
Yeah.
so funny because all of my friends were always dealing with high school drama, who's dating who, and all these things. And I always thought, oh my gosh, I am so relieved that I don't have to deal with any of that. I just
think I
heard
would
all
have
of that
loved that
stuff from them, and
aspect.
I'm like, and I was just like, oh man, I don't want anything to do with any of that.
Yeah.
Especially as females.
So
I mean,
relieved. Yeah.
trauma is like, I should have had been homeschooled. I hated the drama at high school.
I
I couldn't
know. So
wait
many
to get
people
out of there.
struggle with that. I know. Well, and it makes learning harder when you're just like in that, hard emotional state too. How do you learn? I don't know.
Yeah.
So anyway, I loved school though. I don't know. Did you guys like school? I loved learning. I loved learning everything except for history.
Really?
Yeah.
I know, isn't that funny? And now look where we are. I should have studied history like so much harder, but I just disliked it. And I still find it uninteresting.
There's some things
I'm not a
with
history person either.
There's some history things that I couldn't care less about, but there's some that I find fascinating.
Maybe if we knew the real history, then we
Wow.
would be more interested.
Yeah, but who knew? I mean, you have to go down a road in a rabbit hole to learn how much history has been altered in books to really know that you're not learning real history, right? So
Yeah, sure.
I guess I've been kind of studying history the last few years.
yeah, I know the videos
been.
that I've been watching are very historical.
Yep. I find them more interesting now than I did when I was younger, but it's still hard to follow some of that stuff. So I don't know.
I was telling Sherry
I
earlier how I always think that I was born in the wrong time period because I'm so obsessed with the early 20th century. Like that's when I wanted to live. But I'm here because I'm supposed to be.
That's funny. I always thought it'd be fun to live in a time period when girls always wore dresses everywhere because I always loved wearing dresses. I still love wearing dresses, but it's too cold here to wear dresses. So I'm like the 1950s when everybody wore dresses everywhere, everybody dressed nicer all the time, like I'm like, oh, that would have been a nice time to live. And they had some fun music too.
I just found this retro clothing website the other day. I sent a link to Tyler. I was like, I want to shop here. We have to leave Alaska because you can't wear those clothes here.
Yeah, it's too cold. That's what I'm saying. Like,
That's funny.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We hope that you enjoyed this episode. It's a little, we don't know. We just mix it up. We just have fun. Let us know in the comment section below if you know of someone who has been saved recently that you'd like to share with us, because we really want to hear those stories much, much more than we want to hear the sad world corruption stories. So give us some joy and hope in the comment section below, please. And don't forget to subscribe and comment below and share, because we are only posting on the Rumble platform now, and we need to grow this platform. So thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. It's the Christmas holiday, so we're kind of sporadic this month. Take care.